Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Olo, and as you can see, I'm back again to talk talismans, this time of course in Sunbreak. Talismans are incredibly important. These things will often decide how your build will go, what the most efficient way to get the skills you need in that set are. Knowing what you can actually get on your talismans and what to aim for, well of course that's going to really help you. Which is why I created an overview originally for base Rise. And in that video we were able to share with you the gradings for all the talisman skills, meaning how rare a skill actually is to help you decide which talismans you should keep. We're also able to suggest the best melds to go for, what the best levels in those skills can actually be, not to mention how all that works with the potential of decoration slots. In Sunbreak, we have these two new talisman melds to try, in the form of Anima and Reincarnation. We have new skills that can be found on these talismans, such as the new tune-up. We have talismans like this one that have the potential to have a 4 slot on it. With all of that, that means there's a whole new pool of possibilities with your talismans, and as you can see, we've got Rarity 8, Rarity 9, and even Rarity 10 talismans to work with. Understanding this all is pretty key, so I'm going to be explaining that in this video. But I want to say, the source of this information, well this comes from a datamine of the talisman data, to learn what the devs set as your possible talisman melds. So I want to give full credit and a massive thank you again to DTL. They're the source of this information, so please check out the full spreadsheet that they made to see the full details. With that though, please keep in mind that the information comes from a datamine, so while I think it's reliable, there could be things that are wrong, though I personally have good faith in it, especially after the original one. This video serves then as a breakdown of that information, to be presented to you in a more easy to understand way and a good way to refer back to it. To begin with, we need to talk about skill gradings, because this is really important to understand. You see, the developers of Monster Hunter have always assigned a rarity grade to the skills of the series, and that often changes per game and might even change in expansions. Essentially, the higher the grade, the rarer that skill's going to be that you will find it in a meld. So with your talisman melds, an S grade is going to be a very rare skill that you'll be lucky to see and lucky to meld. For the gradings, we have S grade, A grade, B grade, and C grade. C is the most common, S is the most rare. However, as you'll know, talismans can have not just one skill on them, but two, which of course affects the possible level of that skill. The common theme is that the first skill in your talisman, critical element in this case, it has higher potential and possibility for higher levels on it, whereas the second skill is more likely that they'll have less levels on it. Here's an example from the spreadsheet itself. If you rolled the part breaker skill on your talisman, then its max level could be 3 out of 3, cool. However, if you rolled a talisman that had 2 skills on it, and part breaker was the second skill in that list, well then it could only ever reach a maximum of 2 levels. So the first skill on a talisman has higher potential than the second skill. The order of the skills matters even further because it'll affect what decoration slot potential you'll have on that as well. So with that mentioned, it's time to talk about talisman decoration slots. As you'll know, talismans can now have level 4 decoration slots, which is a big boy slot. However, you might not know that this limits your decoration slot entirely. So if you do actually roll a talisman with a 4 slot decoration on it, that's it now. You will never have a talisman with a 4 slot and then any other slots after that unless you were to cheat it in. Meanwhile, for a talisman that has 3-1-1 slots, or say 3-2-1 slots, well that's tied to the skills you roll and also their gradings. For example, you cannot roll a 3-2-1 decoration slot talisman if you have an A grade skill or higher on that talisman. Your best hope for slots, if you have a grade A skill or higher, is to go for a slot of 3-1-1. It must be a B grade skill or lower to get the 3-2-1 decoration slot. And that goes for both skills. It doesn't matter which way, which order they are. If there's A grade on it, it can't happen. Of course, there are things like the 2-2-0 decoration slots, and you can do a lot with that over, say, a 3-1-1. So keep that in mind. Now, at this point, you may be wondering which skills are graded what, and so you can use that information to actually apply it. Now, originally, I made these slides to show which skills are what grade for you to take and refer to. But I would honestly recommend you head back to the original video to get more details on all of this as I go into more specifics. But this is a Sunbreak Talisman video, so we're talking about Sunbreak Talisman details. Speaking of which, we have new skills in Sunbreak, and not all of them are actually going to be possible to see on a talisman. A grand total of 16 new skills can be found in Sunbreak, and it seems some of the most potent are excluded from the talisman pool. Of these new skills, these few cannot be found on a talisman. Bloodright, Bloodlust, Furious, Mail of Hellfire, Dereliction, and Quick Breath, they will never be seen on a talisman. And to be fair, that makes sense, they'd be crazy. However, plenty of the new skills in Sunbreak can be found on talismans, as you'll know. Here are the new skills and their grades. Starting from the rarest, there are actually no grade S skills of the new skills. So we actually start with A grade. So here are the A grade skills. We have Coalescence, Charge Master, Foray, Tune Up, Grinder S, and then we have Blade Scale Hone and Chain Crit. These are the rarest of the new skills, but thankfully none of them are S grade, so you will actually see them fairly commonly. More commonly than that are the B grade skills, which there's only one, it's Redirection. And then for C grade skills, the most common, Spirit Bird's Call, and then Wall Runner Boost. That makes sense to me. Wall Runner is not exactly amazing, so yeah, C grade makes sense, but Spirit Bird's Call is quite nice to have as a utility, so that being one of the more common new skills you'll have as a second skill on a talisman, I'll take it. The only new B grade skill is Redirection though, which is a fine skill, but not something I really rate that high, so I would have understood if that was also a C grade. Meanwhile, we have that long list of A grade skills, which can be useful in their own ways, certainly with things like Chain Crit. Those being a bit rarer, well, that's fair to me. But what about levels in those skills? How potent they can be? Chain Crit 3 out of 3 on a single talisman would be insane for so many builds, which is why probably it's impossible. In fact, none of the new skills that I just listed will allow more than 2 levels in each. In the case of something like Spirit Bird's Call, one of the new skills here, you can see it's only needing 1 level to max out, so that's fine. But it gets a bit more complicated with certain skills. If you were to roll Redirection or Tune Up as the second skill in the list, for some reason you can only ever have 1 level. So you see how Redirection's the first skill in the list here, but then on this talisman it's the second in the list. Notice how it has only 1 level. That's because it's impossible to get 2 levels when it's the second skill. This is only the case for Redirection and Tune Up, because everything else, it doesn't matter whether it's first or second in the list, it can reach 2 levels just fine. Like, for example, this Grinder S here. It's got 2 levels as the first skill, it's got 1 level as the second skill, it's got 2 levels as the second skill. It just caps out at 2, but it doesn't matter which one it is. Finally then, a quick word on the 2 new meld types, Anima and Reincarnation here. You might be wondering if Reincarnation is better than Anima, because yes, it costs a bit more points, clearly, but then to actually use this, you need to put in 10 different talismans in exchange for 3 potential talismans in exchange. In the case of skill potential, it's the same. It's the exact same. Anima and Reincarnation here can 1-for-1 meld the exact same talismans. They have the same possibilities. However, what we can't see from this datamine spreadsheet are the odds. It could be that choosing to meld with Reincarnation would lead to better odds or better chances to get higher rarity skills or a better combination of skills. To me, that would make sense, especially after how with Rebirth here, that was the best option to get the best melds back in Original Rise. But now with Reincarnation, we can't exactly tell. What's important to know overall is that Anima and Reincarnation are still your path to the highest rarity talismans and the best possibilities. So you want to be melding with these 2 as much as possible in Sunbreak. Interestingly, with Anima and Reincarnation, there is some losses though. Like element attack here, such as fire attack in this case, you can only ever get 2 levels in an element, and it will only ever show up as a second skill. We also will see much less element resistances in our melds, except for blight resistance here. And you might remember the really stupidly high graded Jump Master. Well, that can no longer be melded with either Anima or Reincarnation, which is great news, because as an S grade skill, you roll a really rare S grade and then you get Jump Master. Thankfully, they removed that. It was weird. Overall, my opinion is that melding in Sunbreak is a lot fairer, and I think it's a clear improvement over the original system, which leads to the insane potential of a talisman like this. I am very jealous as a Switch X player, and we can actually see that this is a real possible talisman thanks to the data mined information. Rapid Morph can roll 3 levels if it's the first skill in the list, which it is in that case, while Chain Crit, well, that can only ever roll 2 levels whether it's first or second. Then the slots make sense too, because we have an A grade skill in the case of Chain Crit. The highest decoration possible would be a 3-1-1, which we literally see there. So a huge and totally not jealous congrats to Showy Scopy, who posted that on Twitter. Maybe give me some of your luck, please. Thank you. But there you have it, the new information that should really help you understand what's rare, what's valuable, and what's possible in Sunbreak. A huge thank you again and credit to DTL Nor for creating the spreadsheet and then updating it again for Sunbreak. Thank you. Be sure to look at the full sheet for the full details, or if you want an easy to understand referral, you can look at my original video. As always, if this video has helped you, please do drop a like so we can keep creating content like this. It really helps us. And if you have any extra input, do drop it in the comments. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.